Hello everyone, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Uncharted Frontiers, and in today's video, we'll be continuing our save from yesterday, starting off by seeing if we have any upgrades in the station in which we do not. We just finished our research on our liquid fuel technology. We do not have the research to get anything new, so I guess straight into the vehicle assembly building today. And, well, right off to a good start. So in today's episode, I do hope to get at least further than we did yesterday. Not orbit, it's 1951 after all, but at least a bit further. As you can see via our aviation here, we do have a bit better technology. But we will be throwing down a probe core instead of a default thing today, because we did unlock some science parts. So we will be using those very widely to our advantage here. Okay. So a liquid fueled stage would be ideal. So the torch engine seems it will fit that regard, with a very sustainable amount of delta V. I'd say we have a good chance at doing a lot of good things here. We don't have any. We do have decouplers. Okay. Do we have any heat shields to survive a re-entry? Where would those be again? Oh yeah, thermal. No thermal. So it actually might be better off if we does this have SAS on it? I don't think it might. If it, whatever, even if it doesn't, we're not very concerned about that anyway. We will have two communications antennas for extra measure on the side of the spacecraft, so we can transmit any data collected on our spacecraft. So we will put a thermometer on this end of the craft and a barometer on the other. Push that barometer in ever so slightly so it's barely visible. I'll actually do the same on the side of the thermometer, just so it's, blends well with the spacecraft. That's still reachable, yes. We will use a camera on one of our future vehicles, but for now, I think it is best that we just stick to what we know. So if we go into aerodynamics, holy rocketry, we have a lot of stuff to use. So I guess we'll just use that as our nose cone here, and then we will go and get ourselves some fins for our vehicle. That's a tail fin. I'd say these are decently, yeah. Winglets. Let's use the base fins we've been using for the past very large amount of designs. Actually, I'll push this engine up into the vehicle for aesthetic reasons. Still should function just fine. This will be the SR3, which will be our first intercontinental. That's not how you spell continental. What's a interland mass missile? Again, excuse the spelling, but that's our new vehicle. And should we logo it? I think we should. We haven't done much with our decals recently, so we will slap some of those on the spacecraft, which I do not think it's gonna like me doing, but yeah, it's not gonna like it. But there. So now that those are all lined up, we can hit launch, which will add it to our build list. This will take 93 days to build, so in theory it should still be 1951 upon this vehicle's completion. Just like last episode, we're probably gonna have like 2, maybe 3 launches per episode. Last time was 2, this time maybe 3. We'll see how everything goes. As these are all live commentated, I cannot give a fair assessment of how things are gonna go. I feel live commentary is a little better than afterward because you get the reactions out of it. But we warp over to our current time, and now it is we must have accidentally rolled out 2 SR3s, so I guess we have 2 of them to work with, which is interesting. Must have messed up there. So out here from Karoo, I guess we have an extra SR3 to work with if we ever find need to do so. if this one does end up in a failure, I guess we do have an extra vehicle, which will always be great. I might actually just start building the SR type vehicles in pairs, as it looks like it may be more efficient, as we don't have funds to go by, just science points. So the launch of this mission should give us the required boost in technology to carry us much higher than we have been able to go before. And this mission in specific should try to focus on the newer aspects of our program, including our better engines. So, without further ado, 3, 2, 1, ignition. So we have a decently fast launch today. The vehicle is going to do a attempted turn. I say attempted because I don't know how successful it will be, but we'll definitely gonna try to turn, and it appears like it was unsuccessful, which is fine. We do have money to make up here, which is in the form of the thermometer, which will give us 7.2 science, and then we will transfer the data to the probe core, which we will then do a telemetry port from, which will do absolutely nothing. Okay. And then we will view stored data and transmit it down, which we do not have the electric charge for. So that's our problem, I guess. That's what we found out with the SR vehicles. That's our first issue with them. That they are not really optimally designed for this. So coming down at a decent speed, I'd say. We will have the vehicle re-enter Earth's atmosphere in a nosedive, which is not nominal. A bit of a rocky start to the episode, but we'll make it through. Okay, we randomly slow down a very large, considerable amount, which is not common for the administration of Kerbal Space Program. We will hit a tree today, seems, or not. Boom, boom, boom. That engine will be recoverable. But yeah, I'd say an unsuccessful mission. Unfortunately, may get a bit of money from the mission itself, who knows, but that just gives us time to revamp our designs after this next SR3 launch, which I'll just call back and re-edit the design. It's not on the pad yet. It's still being built, not even at 1%. I'm not going to let myself pull back vehicles that are over 50% completion. But we'll just say, hey, we have an SR3 to work with here. Just, scrap the vehicle. Sure you want to scrap vessel? Yes, I am. So we'll scrap that. We did get actually a decent reward amount for that, which is good. Don't know where that came from, but we will look into spending it on, say, aviation maybe, because actually early Carolox engines would be nice. Early tankage, dynamic storage, grid alloys. Science we don't need right now, so I guess we'll just go with more advanced solid rocket motors, which after that I guess it will let us research more kerosene-based fuel systems, and then early tankage, which should take us a very large amount of time to do. So we'll just warp to complete for all of those. It is going to be, September of 1951. We will go back into our vehicle assembly building and start the production of our next vehicle. We're definitely moving a lot faster than anticipated in this series. Just glad we're not at like 1957 in specific. That is the real world date for launching such vehicles. The Minuteman avionics is upper stage software pretty old, but we think it's managed to figure it out. Where it's getting to achieve orbit. There's potential upgrades. Okay. Well, doesn't really have much on it. Control reaction wheel. Okay, so it does have reaction wheels. I think we'll throw a Vanguard tank on the bottom of this and a Vanguard or rocket engine. Just like that. That will give us a good amount of propellant to work with on this next launch. We will use a 2 scout stages, I guess, as boosters to bring it to higher than typical reaches, I guess, if that's a good idea. But nonetheless, we can actually try to recover the vehicle this time around, as it will actually have that recoverability we're looking for. In our coupling section, we will have access to small decouplers and or stack separators. Yeah, there's one that fits. Alright, so we'll just go like that. Parachutes, get a procedural chute on there. I don't know if it will actually scale down to that size. Yeah, it won't. Okay, so that's the size we're getting, which is completely fine. If you ask me, it looks normal, so... do we have a medium radial decoupler, but we don't have a small one? Got it. Radial medium size is okay, I guess. Actually, we may not even need to separate these because it'll just... Does it give us more performance if we just don't have them? Genuinely wondering. 2,800 without. And 2,800 with 3,200. Yeah, this gives us a considerable advantage. Well, that makes sense, but I guess we will have them integrated like that. Definitely throw that there. So do we have auto strut? Yes, we do. So we will just strut everything together, keep it nice and rigid. We will do transports of these datas. So where is the scientific region? So we will actually try to get a thermometer reading from Earth orbital space and a barometer reading from the surface at the minimum. But even with that, I do not have that much faith in the vehicle. It is untested, but it will no longer be called an SR because it's not a sounding rocket. This is the... let's think of a name here. I don't want to call it but the SRV2, the SRV21, which will be the first SRV2 vehicle. Alright, there we go, the first SRV vehicle, and I think we'll go a little different on the decals this time around. We've really been sticking the same with them. So I think we'll go KSP, write it in US Air Force font, get rid of the opacity as a text, make it vertical, just have it run down the considerable amount of the vehicle just to match some of the aesthetic of the rest of it. I think that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and save it, go ahead and add it to the build list, which, just making sure, this will take 73 days to build, it seems, which isn't a considerable amount of time, judging by the amount of research we have put into the technology. Now, I think we will achieve orbit by 53, which is kind of odd to think about, because in real life we didn't reach orbit till 57, and even then, our space flight will take even longer. Just checking if we have any upgrades to spend. We have 3 available. I think I'm going to put them all into research and development. And I should put it in the spaceplane hangar, but well, whatever. 73 days later, we have the accurate production of this vehicle. We get 11 science per day now, which, yes, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we'll definitely have to deal with that. The rollout time for the vehicle is slightly more elongated. Let's see if we can unlock some more stuff while we're here. Let's get some cryogenic engines and some hypergolics in the process. But anyway, back to the launch pad, which I think we may want to... Yeah, I'm just going to warp to the complete of the cryogenic rocketry, then our early hypergolics, just so they're not in the way. But now we are in 1952, so the SRV-21, will now launch from Kourou launch site in French Guiana. This will be our largest vehicle up to date. I don't remember how much it weighed or its height, but it is for sure our largest vehicle. Use a Vanguard and Scout motors for our first stage. If you do remember from last episode, the Scout boosters we are now using were the initial second and first, well, it's the entire vehicle for our second launch vehicle, which was adequately named the, what was it, the SR2. So we, little trip down memory lane there. And just like that, we still do not have SAS control in the vehicle, but we will get a pressure reading. Keep that. We're just gonna, keep some of the data. Definitely we're gonna review data. Keep it out. I forget how we were meant to transfer the data. Log temperature, keep. Whatever, it's fine, we can overwrite it. So as we get off the ground today, we see ourselves in a much better position than we were at last time we were here. We actually do have control of the vehicle today, which is really nice. I had to keep this thing oriented because I know it won't orient itself. Okay, whoa. I guess our rocket likes to do backflips. It's an interesting design, but we're getting to the thick of Earth's atmosphere for sure by now. I'm actually gonna start spinning the spacecraft for stability reasons. That will just help us on our ascent as we try to get as far away from the launch site as we physically can. This is definitely going to be an interesting launch for our program's history, as it is. Okay, it's actually like really hard adjusting for. Okay, whoa, what's our map looking like? 82. I'll separate, why not? Okay. Oh crap, I didn't grab the data. So, we'll take what we can get, I guess. And with that, we will do an attempted recovery of our vehicle, which I don't know how successful it will go, but this would be the second recovered vehicle so far, and that is a bit upsetting, but through trial and error, we push further. I don't know how we are going to fare in the space community at this point, but we will certainly push harder. And as we enter a spiral entry into Earth's atmosphere, we see, the moon over there. Oh, okay, well, maybe we will have the forces that we like to call drag slow us down. So maybe we won't even need. Yep, we're currently cruising down at roughly 100 meters per second, which isn't all too fast. If we can slow it down to 20 or even 40, we may have a chance of survivability. But as we enter the lower portions of Earth's atmosphere, we slow down even more. This is a similar method to how we would land spacecraft on Venus, but I do not think this one's going to survive, at least. Never mind, I guess these parachutes are quite resilient. Let's do a normal recovery. We don't need to reuse any of this vehicle. That's just not worth our time. But, I mean, if we loaded it on a new stage, it could be useful, but yeah, no, not this save. That is our third, I want to say, launch of the day. Wait, no, second, but that was not a. Oh, never mind. It was decently recovery of vessel from suborbital flight gives us 8 science. I did not know that. Well, that's fun. I think we're gonna unlock reaction thrusters, and I think this will give us the ability to use SAS on our vehicles. Then with our exact 10, I think we'll also go with jet engines, because that's another thing we will need soon enough. Now, if we're just gonna, I know I could start them now, but I'm just gonna warp till completion on the technology for those. Just get them nice and done with. We're now at February 25th of 1952. I think our next few launches will just be an attempt to stay oriented in the same way we had before. A modified version of our prior vehicle will for sure be used. Maybe replacing the upper stage segments with just, this one doesn't have anything, so it's just an SRV2 vehicle. But we are still top heavy, which is concerning. But if we can put a 1.25 point in there, that would be interesting. As of right now, we don't really have too much of that, so it'll, if we can do it, it'll be nice. Just next size up so we get that scaling. Vehicle does not look as nice, I'd say, anymore, but it's definitely there. Here, let's give us a different paint job for this launch. Just so we can actually attempt a recovery of the scientific data, we will put it on the main spacecraft instead of positioning itself where we put it before. Yeah, this will be our last launch of the episode, and it will for sure go down as one of the more successful flights. Okay, so this thing will take 84 days to build, which is not all too bad. We've definitely had longer waits in our launch sequences, but it's still not effective, because then at that point it will be, God, maybe April to June by the time we get this thing constructed, and that's already halfway through 1952. And if we want to reach that orbit by 1953, we're gonna have to start up in our game. As I said, yeah, just around June of 1952, which is May 20th. Close enough to the current dates, which is interesting. Then we roll it out, which will take a few days. That was the 26th of May, 1952, 5 hours and 8 minutes. So this will be a show for sure. That much is known. But the launch of this vehicle will be completely dependent on a variety of factors outside of the weather and clarity of Kourou today. I don't know how the success of this vehicle will be. I don't know if we have SAS yet. I did not say we unlocked it per se, but sometimes in the tech tree we're using, it just gives you it at one point or another. So we will test. We still do not have that, which is okay, because we can just use spin stabilization as we usually use. And even if we can't use that, we can just use a basic sense of going up. And so what we're going to do is basically just tap D and A and hope for the best. Here, we'll have to tap S and W too, but the main buttons are up. Rocket does a flip again. That's not fun. Performance loss from that for sure. But if we can, okay, we're no spin stabilization, got it. Not a good idea. Once we get more control over the vehicle in the upper atmosphere, it'll be nice. Trying to keep ourselves prograde to the best of my ability. We're keeping relatively true to that statement, though. We're facing prograde and coming around at about, well, we're gonna enter space for sure. That much is, no, whoa. Why isn't it showing the plume odd? Well, we reach space as per usual, and we take ourselves slightly further than we have gone before. Which, I mean, is really all we can ask for missions like these, is some extra flexibility. And data collection from the spacecraft shows nominal. Barometer in space will log our pressure data. And then just as we get out of Earth's atmosphere, I will see if I can transfer the data to the main thing, which is good that I can. Okay. Once we're actually in space, which we now are, we will try to get more science from the barometer, overwrite atmospheric scan, get some money off of that. Then we will actually re-enter the atmosphere in a retrograde position this time around, which will be a very interesting change of scenery, as most of our re-entries have been prograde facing. In reference, our parachute should deploy, which means we will have a safe landing, and we are now out of electric charge, so we are relying completely on our spacecraft's ability to decelerate itself, which the parachute deployed too early. Again, that's something we're going to have to fix for sure. But hopefully we will have a situation where the spacecraft slows itself down to a considerably less speed, which it seems it is now doing. With the thicker span of the spacecraft, it will slow down a little bit more than it usually does, but outside of that, there's not much interesting going on. We will probably reach 70 meters per second before hitting the ground, which is definitely survivable for this spacecraft. I mean, we've had the asteroid missions hit the ground at a similar speed, and they've survived. So we just do a normal recovery as per usual, and we're definitely gonna make at least 20 science from this, and that will be spent in the next next vehicle, but next video for sure. We will try to reach orbit by that 1953 deadline by then, but until then, see you guys around.